What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be starting on a new build. We're actually going to be LS swapping this car behind me. It's an AP-1 S2000. It used to be a turbo car. Came to me as a roller, actually. So let's just dive right into it. So like I said, the car came to me as a roller. It's in pretty rough shape, so I'll insert a montage of that right now, and you can check it all out and see what we're starting with. Overall, it's not a super clean example of what an S2000 should or could be, but it's also not completely trashed. It's honestly a perfect candidate for a swap like this. If anything, we're probably adding value back to this car by swapping it. So the car does have a couple of decent parts on it. It's got an NVIDIA exhaust that is unfortunately cracked. We're gonna have to weld that up, but we'll get that taken care of. It's got some what I consider extremely ugly XXRs on it. Some sort of cheap coilovers, I think maybe some Racelands or something. But we're gonna be handling all that. So let's get rolling on this engine bay. We gotta get this cross member out right here and then cut parts of these out in the back at the trans tunnel so that we can start mocking our engine up. So I got the car up on jack stands and I'm working on removing this front cross member that we no longer need. I've been using this Bauer electric belt sander. It has made removing the spot welds so easy. We have most of them removed. Just have to get a few more on the bottom. I did have to take the steering rack out because of this one right here. There was just no way to get to it with the rack in, if it'll focus. So I did remove the steering rack to get to that, but I needed to remove the rack anyways because we're gonna have to make an adapter bracket. The rack bolts right here to that and that. We're gonna have to move it back to bolt to this and a new one that hangs off. That way it can clearance the front crank pulley on the LS. All right, so I've got all the spot welds drilled or grinded off of this cross member. So hopefully now I can just knock it down and it'll come straight out. I really thought I was just gonna knock this thing out, but as you can tell, it took a few more hits than I expected. There we go. I went ahead and started pulling the wiring back. It was driving me nuts, just hanging out, being in the way. So probably gonna go ahead and clean that area up, get it vacuumed, get all this blown out and vacuumed in here, and then pull the master cylinder and the ABS pump and all the lines down to there. And then I'll get to work on cutting out the supports and figuring out exactly where I want to cut these off at so that I can still plate them. I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to do it yet. I know back here I'm going to just grind out the spot welds, but here I'm probably just going to cut it flush with the body here and the frame rail and then just plate it in like that and keep it all square. But I got to figure out a good way to cut that first. And to do that, I've got to get the brake lines out of the way. So let's start there. So at this point, I'm just cleaning up the debris out of the engine bay and trying to get everything a little more tidied up. I've got to pull all the brake lines off the ABS pump. That allows me access to the clutch master cylinder and the brake master cylinder, and I can get all those along with the right front brake line out of my way. And then that just left a couple of brake lines that ran down underneath the trans tunnel and the fuel lines. Once I got those out of the way, I was pretty much done removing things out of this engine bay. And now we should be ready to start cutting that trans tunnel and mocking the engine up. Well, guys, getting the brake lines and the ABS module out of this thing took quite a bit longer than expected. And to be honest with you, my heater ran out of fuel a little while ago and it's starting to get chilly in here. So I think that's probably going to wrap it up for tonight. Hopefully later this week, we're going to be picking up the engine and transmission and we can start mocking that up. But until then, I have several things to do in the engine bay still. Still got to finish cutting out these braces and boxing them in. And hopefully start cleaning up the wiring. The goal is to tuck the engine bay, have the wires all cleaned up. Power steering, air conditioning, ABS, we want that all to function still. So I'm going to have to do quite a bit of work to get all that dialed in and get it cleaned up in the bay. But I think it's going to be doable. If you like the build, if you want to follow along, hit that subscribe button, comment down below, let me know what you think, and stay tuned because I'm going to try to have videos out on this thing at least once a week. So follow for more. Thanks.